Howdy, I'm going to tell you when and why I use Google Sheets for stuff, and then give you a basic little tutorial of how to do it, and then show you some cool stuff at the end about how to use graphs and stuff like that as a little extra treat. I'll show you why and when to use Google Sheets, and a basic guide of how to go about it. Personally, I use Google Sheets a fair bit. A while back, I did the Google Career Certificates for data analysts, so I know the basics of it. And I generally use it anytime I'm feeling stressed about finances or stuff like that. And that's what it's mainly about, the business aspect and basic financing you can do for yourself. How you get to Google Sheets is you can just look up Google Sheets, then click on the first result, boom, and then click on blank spreadsheet. Then you'll be in here, you can name this whatever you want it to be. We'll just call it basic biz, basic biz financing. I'll give a quick explanation more so of why I use this. Oftentimes when I get stressed about finances or affording stuff or what I'll have to do, I take comfort in checking to know like objectively if I do certain things, I'll be fine. And yeah, I could use a calculator, but it's a lot of times looking back at that again and again and again, or just wanting to check things and not do the exact same calculation for different scenarios and over again. Google Sheets can be really useful for that, which is nice. And I'm going to do a basic rundown of something kind of similar to what sometimes I do. Like, basically there's rows, which are going left to right, and then columns that are up and down. Depending on circumstances, you'll format differently. Sometimes you'll put things in the top, sometimes you'll go left and right. I personally like to title things in the columns. Like I'll say, oh, this is the client's name for something. And oh, here's how much they're giving, like amount, or something like that. If that's how you spell amount. Pretty much what I'll often do is I'll do something like, oh yeah, I want to know how much I'm making and then what are my potential expenses in different situations. So I'll do something like, okay, how many dollars per hour am I making a certain job? Then how many hours per week am I working? And then how many weeks per period? Period just being however much time you're doing. If it's a year, then it's 52 because 52 weeks in a year. That's what weeks per time. Why not? And then if you just add these together, you can get kind of how much money you're making a set amount of time. I'll show you really quick. I'm just going to put in some generic values like 15, let's say $15 an hour, right? And let's say you work part-time, you're doing like 20 hours a week. I'm not sure that's part-time, but we'll see. And then weeks per time, we'll say like 4. That's 28 days. It's almost a month, a little bit less. The month on average is like 30.2 or 30.4 days, but 28, it's close enough. We'll keep it simple. And now let's say we wanted to see our dollars per time. Now we could manually go through, oh yeah, 15 times 20 times 4, and then use a calculator and type it in. And that works, and that can be useful to reference back later. But we have things called formulas, which are very, very useful. How you use a formula, they pretty much allow you to use logic, like adding, subtracting, dividing, and a whole plethora of other stuff. How you do that, and there's like a section up here where we can see a bunch of the tools, but you can find a cheat sheet on them pretty easy. I'll try to find one for you and put it in the description if I remember, is you just put an equal sign. That's all you have to do, and now this knows, hey, this is an equation. So we could just do something like, hey, 10 plus 5, and this will give us 15. And we can change it, oh, 52, not 62, right? That's pretty nice. And that's not bad. That's actually a very useful tool to have. But what makes it very, very useful, why people love the like spreadsheets and Google Sheets a bunch, is you can work with previous like data points or values. So if I click on here, you see on the column it's A, and on the row it's 2. So 2A. I could type it in manually, 2A, and see it glows. It says, oh, you're selecting this one. And then it says 15 now because it takes the value at 2A, which is here. But you don't have to manually do that. You can actually just click on the value, and it says, boom, 2A, and it auto inputs for you. And now we want to multiply the value of 2A, which is 15, times hours per week. And this effectively gives us, once we hit enter, the amount of dollars per week we are making. Because $15 per hour, 20 hours per week, 300. Now, if we multiply this number times weeks per time, remember we just click on the thing and it adds it for us, then we get 1,200. Now, of course, this doesn't include like taxes and all that sort of stuff. You can make a more complicated one, and there's a bunch of really cool, more advanced features like a conditional formatting and stuff, which will show like it'll change colors depending on if it's above a certain value or has a certain aspect, and there's quantitative values and all that. but we're going to be keeping this very simple for what you'll probably need generally for most of your stuff. And as you feel more comfortable messing around with this stuff, you can go ahead and learn more advanced things. But the most important thing is you get the basic fundamentals. They will serve you so well, and honestly, it's surprisingly fun to do. Next, we're just going to add a cost column, because currently this is our revenue. All of this adds up to revenue per time. And yeah, we'll call it revenue per time. And then notice how currently I add more. It kind of seeps into this next column. That doesn't look good because you don't have stuff here. And if I click on here, it kind of truncates it, and that's weird. If it's longer, you can manually drag it here. You make it like boom, all the way here, or here, boom. But if you just double click it, double tap it, it auto fixes for you. And if I'm not mistaken, I think you have to do it manually each time. If I do this, it's going to stay out here. But you just double tap it again, it's pretty fast. And it'll manually just set the correct thing depending on however many values are in here. Like if I have one down here that's like super long, it's going to set to that, so everything in this column fits. And then you can also set your aligning stuff. So if you want to start from the left, like how it is currently, or if you want to start in the center, where it's centered, or even start on the right. I've never seen someone start on the right, but hey, you can if you want to, I guess. But we're just going to keep it simple and start on left and just fit to size. Maybe I'll change my mind and we'll do center. We'll see. We'll see. I'm just going to put a space in here. You don't have to do this. I just like to put a space for just formatting. It looks nice. But now we're going to make our expenses column. So we have our revenue. Now we need our costs. So let's say we have our housing costs. And in my area, I was looking at some things, and it can be around $760 per month. We're going to be doing per month, even though this isn't exactly, it's like 4.2 or something like that. Yeah, screw it. Well, why not? We'll do that. And you'll notice, when I change this to 4.2, that value changed. When you click off and press enter, it automatically updates. So if you say, oh, actually I got a promotion recently, now I'm making 15.67 per hour after taxes, boom, it'll auto adjust for you in revenue per time, which is a very powerful and useful functionality to have. Now, we have our housing, we have food costs, which, let's say you're being like real frugal, right? You've been pretty frugal, you're making 3 meals, right? Let's use an equal to our math for us. You're making 3 meals per day, and you're drinking water. Nothing else. We're doing real frugal here. You're doing 3 meals per day. Each of those meals cost $4 to make. And then how many days per month? We have 30 days per month on average. Just a little more. It's like 30.2 something, but we'll say that. And that adds up to $360. And this works perfectly fine too. Like if I goes like equals this, I'll show you that does in a second. But if I do equals this, it'll be the exact same thing. It doesn't show the equation, it shows the value. Not the equation, what its value is. We have housing, we have food, we'll just say utilities, and I'll just manually say 300, I think it's somewhere around there, but it depends heavily on your area and stuff. These are just generic values that you'd fill out with what's relevant to your stuff. And I can do a more in-depth thing if you guys like searching the county I personally live in, and giving information for that, showing how you'd find these things, how you'd go about that. If you want me to do that, comment, let me know. If there's enough of ththose, then I will go ahead and make one of those, like a full process of finding out how to do these things for your own personal financing. Housing, food, utilities, and we'll put transportation. There's probably more stuff, like you have the loans and stuff, it's all going to matter. And it can get more complicated too if it's like repeated payments versus one-time payments and all sorts of different interest rates. But I have like an e-scooter, so it costs, on average for my area, half a cent per mile. So we'll just say $10. And I'm a student, so I can use the buses around for free. Obviously, for most people, it's like 200, 300 probably, but we'll just use this. And then this will just be called costs. And costs is going to be equal to this plus... Actually, I want to show you something. When I press equal, Google Sheets is smart, so it can like sum up things for you automatically. It kind of knows like, oh yeah, you have costs, and just looks through, hey, housing, food, utilities, transportation. These sound like costs. I assume you want to sum these together. And a sum is a function. I've already showed before how you can do like, oh yeah, like 5 plus this, or whatever. There's things like sum or subtract or divide integer, that just do different logic depending on all the past things. And pretty much a sum is just this plus this plus this plus this. It's the exact same thing, just simplified a little bit. But we're going to do the simple form. Once you get more comfortable, you can do that. We're going to keep this basic as possible so you can get the fundamentals and move on from there. So we can go manually. It's like, hey, 760 plus this plus this plus this. Plus, it's normal. It's normal. You'll make plenty of mistakes. It's all part of it. And luckily, you can press Control Z anytime pretty much to undo your last action, which is very nice. And actually, I lied. We're we're actually going to use the sum function because I realized I can use it to show you a very nice feature. And we can see here our costs come out to 1,430 or 1,430. And like, 430 what? That's another nice thing we can do. Up here, you can choose like a bunch of values for stuff. You can say, hey, is this like a percentage difference? Is this just a solid number? Is it decimals? A whole bunch of formattings. We can format it as dollars or euros or rupees or whatever the heck, but default is dollars. Just so we have it. It doesn't actually change anything. It can't use percentages. Like if I change this to percentage, it's going to change dramatically. See, it's massive now, but it's just nice to know. So you can look and say, hey, this is dollars, this is hours, this is all that sort of stuff. And then we just have that. We just have that. Boom, boom, boom. But we're going to use the sum function, which is just sum or equal sum. Yeah, equals sum. And then you can see it says like F2 colon I2. What that means is we're moving from F2, which is here, F2, all the way to I, is this column, 2. So same thing, it's going from left to right. So it's going F2, G2, H2, I2. So it takes every value from here to here, inclusive, so beginning and end, and then adds them up for us. Now that sounds, I mean, it's not that complicated, but it's a little bit of a pain to look through, and then we got to type F2, and then, oh, where is it again? Okay, I, and then, okay, where is it? Oh, 2. Instead, you can just press like one value. So we have our starting value, then hold shift, and then click on your ending point, and it'll automatically do it for you. See, F2, all the way to I2. And it like visually shows you, see everything like highlighted kind of yellow here. Is where it has. Then we just close this, and then this should add it up. It's the exact same thing, but it's an important concept to know. It's pretty useful. You don't have to do it for this demo, but I feel like I should tell you about it. And then, since we're running out of space because I formatted it, I'm just going to put it down here. Actually, no, it's fine. We'll just do our like profit. What's called big profit. And you know what? We're going to format to center. We're going to align center so everything's in the center. Just so it's nice and it's just nice looking. I like center. I like center align. So our profit, see, we have our revenue, we have our costs. This is just going to be our revenue. So we're going to equal sign, click on this value, D2, revenue per time, minus, and there's also a function called subtract, but we're not going to use that, costs. And remember, it's not going to take the equations, it's going to take the final value. So 1,260 minus 1,430. When we press enter, we get our value. Negative 170. But now that this is pretty useful. Honestly, this is very useful. And then we can just run through different scenarios. And I'm going to start a second scenario for us. And it's going to look odd, like why am I doing this manually? But you're going to see why in a second. So let's say dollars per hour. Let's say we were earning a bit more. We're earning $20 an hour. Or actually, no. Yeah, screw it. We're working $18 per hour, and we're working 32 hours per week. So higher on both, and then 4.2, so same. One thing you could also do, when you click on a value, you'll see this right here, this little like circle. This pretty much means, hey, copy this down, this exact value. Or equation for an equation, which gives a value. If I bring it way down here, all these come 4.2, which is pretty nice. And we'll align these in a minute, but we're just put all the values first. So we have 18, 32, and 4.2. This gives us 1,260. You might think, hey, if I drag this down, it's just going to copy the same value. It won't. It actually copies the equation. So I put this, and it does the exact same logic for us. It's A3, B3, C3. Because it's smart, it says A2, B2, 3, 2. It sees everything relativistically. So it says, hey, same row as me, this column. When you drag it down, it follows that same logic. It's like, hey, same row, this column. It is the exact same thing. So I can say housing is the exact same, but oh, we're big spenders around here. We're big. We'll do cheaper. We'll do cheaper. Why not? We'll say we're super frugal. 240, 280. And then we have utilities. We'll say boom. We're just a lot cheaper. We're a lot more frugal around here. Except for driving. We have an actual car, but we don't drive it very much. And then if I drag this down, it'll relativistically be the exact same thing, which is pretty nice. It adds up to about the same, or pretty similar. That's because transportation's higher. If I had 0 or something, it'd change accordingly. But let's do like a 90, not 900. And then when I drag profit down, which is same row, different column. Here, we're at a net profit of $1,019. This is the basics of it. This is where I kind of end the video. This is the most important part. Now I'm going to give that little extra part that I find is cool that I was referring to at the beginning. First, we're just going to center this just so it looks nice. Doesn't change anything, it just looks nice. It's eye candy, it's good to have. Now, what if we wanted to break down our total costs? How do we do that? Well, one easy way is a graph, a visual way to see stuff. We're humans, seeing things is a lot easier generally. So we can just click from housing and then shift. Anytime you use shift, it basically means, hey, from here to here. So if I go from housing, transportation, everything in between. We click from housing, shift, down to $10. Then we click insert and then sharp. Because it's smart, generally speaking, it'll automatically choose the right type of column for you, and it'll just go for it. And you say, oh, housing takes this much, food this much, this much. And then it's a little bit weird, you can customize it a bunch. If you click it, then it'll show values, which is nice. But you can also go through and change a bunch of things too. Like you add red lines, see how it changes, and you get some more values there. Or you get ticks on the side, minor ticks. And you can choose how they all go, how big they are, stuff like that. You can also choose the chart style, just coloring stuff. You can get 3D, make it a little fancy. You can also compare stuff. I can compare this group to this group, which I will show how to do in a second. Chart type changes dramatically. There's a bunch of stuff knowing how to choose which sort of chart to use. This is pie chart. Pie charts are cool, but there's a lot of research that humans are actually really bad at using pie charts to understand stuff. Like, we're very bad at looking at this and knowing, oh, this is this much. Generally speaking, for like percentage-based stuff, column sort of charts are pretty good. They give the best indication. What if, and sometimes when you do this, it'll say like, can't be deleted or something. If that happens, click on the 3 arrows here, and then click delete chart, and then it'll actually work. It happened to me last time, didn't happen this time. I don't know why, but it is what it is. But let's say I wanted to compare. So we have these attributes, like these things up here, and then I'm comparing this person versus this person. If we do the same thing, because remember, Google Sheets is smart, on your own time, if this is an exercise, go through and try manually changing stuff and choosing charts. But it'll understand, hey, you don't want just a breakdown of stuff, you want a comparison. So it'll compare, hey, on housing, they're the same. On food, they're different. Utilities, they're this. And then we can choose one of my favorite little changes, if I can find it really quick, which is in series, and then it's called data labels. And that just shows us the exact values. Doesn't look great here. It's better for single things usually. We can customize them, change them, but you could just show the values constantly, so you don't have to hover over it. Pretty much lets you compare data in a bunch of different ways, see how different plans could work out. And as you change these values, let's say we had a demotion. Oh, rip. Get a promotion over at $16 an hour. We're gonna suffer a little bit here. Something seems off. That's what it is. I actually went too far. I was supposed to go from here to here, so this is important. A lot of times in spreadsheets it's very fast, but because of that you make silly mistakes pretty easily. You can change stuff, but it's going to be faster for this tutorial just to go insert and then remake a new chart. So from here to here, it has the title names, it has the values. Keep that in mind. If you don't have them, it's not going to tell you what they are. And then, yeah, here, transportation, utilities, food, housing. And then you can view how they are and stuff like that. And it's quite nice. It lets you break down things better, and it changes automatically. So let's say, oh, we got our hours cut to 20 hours per week. That's actually going to change anything. The reason why is because we are not measuring that. We are measuring housing, food, utilities, transportation. This is completely irrelevant because we're not showing profit or revenue per time. So actually, let's say our landlord is a benevolent creature, which has never happened, and they lower it to 500. Now we can see our costs are a lot lower for this person, but a lot higher for this person. Oh, but this person went crazy. They started Bitcoin mining. They have $900 utilities now. It's going to dramatically change. Or this person decides to only eat gourmet food, I guess. I don't know. 50-star restaurants only. They got $4,000. Dollars per month. It changes accordingly. But pretty much you can just use this stuff to give yourself basic financing, mess around with numbers. Like, hey, if you're in college or something, like which I personally am, if I'm able to work this much amount of time, if I had this much to cover, how much am I losing or gaining per month, and how can I plan accordingly and adjust? For me personally, that can be very comforting to know, okay, everything will be all right, and using the numbers to prove that. But if you like this, comment, let me know, ask more spreadsheet stuff. I'm probably going to change and do some more free and open source stuff next. Let me know if you like this, like it, comment. If it's somehow relevant to someone else, I doubt it would be, but share it. Probably it's the most shareable video, but hey, I'm going to appreciate it if you do. But I'll catch you around. Hope you have a good day. Peace.